The transport shuttle bucked against the atmospheric violence of Cirrus IV like a drunk cadet attempting a salute. For Commander Cale Drayden, a man who had survived 17 unique variations of cosmic fatality, the turbulence was mundane. Outside the viewport, the crimson nebula bled across the stars, a celestial wound mimicking spilled wine on a galactic tablecloth. It is strange how often the universe's most lethal corners dress themselves in such breathtaking beauty, much like the siren calls of our own ancient mythologies, luring sailors to ruin with a pretty face. Outpost Zephyr materialized through the haze, a metallic tumor clinging to the planet's scarred surface. It was a fortress of hard angles, designed by engineers who clearly viewed aesthetics as a tactical liability. Stepping onto the landing pad, Cale tasted ozone and anxiety. Major Harrison met him, vibrating with the frantic energy of a man subsisting on caffeine and terror. He spoke of a 3-week crisis, a prisoner who defied physics, and equipment failing in patterns that suggested the station itself was having a nervous breakdown. Cale immediately understood why his predecessor had fled to a combat zone. The air here felt charged, heavy with an invisible pressure that made his teeth ache. They descended into the outpost's bowels, passing technicians fighting a losing war against entropy. It reminded one of trying to hold back the tide with a teaspoon, futile yet humanly persistent. The air grew thick with static, and Cale's wristwatch surrendered its function. Cell 4 was the epicenter of this electronic apocalypse. Behind the reinforced transparisteel sat Naira. She was a vision of stillness within the storm, her skin faintly luminescent, her pointed ears marking her as undeniably other. She greeted Cale by name before he could speak, her voice cutting through the malfunctioning audio with crystal clarity. When accused of sabotage, she countered with a truth that stung. Humanity's technology was simply too crude to coexist with her natural bioelectric field. It was, she noted, like trying to run quantum software on a steam engine. Then came the warning, delivered with a playfulness that belied its lethality. "If you touch me again, you're dead." Cale, perplexed, noted he had never touched her. Her response, perhaps not in this timeline, hung in the air, heavy with implications of temporal mechanics that made Harrison wheeze with panic. She revealed the truth of the Crimson Nebula. It was not a weather phenomenon, but an ancient machine, a guardian waiting for a specific signal. The revelation was interrupted by the wail of alarms. The external threat alert sliced through the static like a rusty knife. New ships were incoming, organic, predatory vessels that looked like deep-sea nightmares crossed with battleships. Naira identified them as the devourers, techno-organic entities that fed on electromagnetic energy. They didn't just attack, they seduced. They sang to the machines. The outpost began to scream. Consoles flashed unauthorized musical notation, weapon systems composed love ballads to the enemy, and the very walls seemed to vibrate with a haunting, alien melody. The music wasn't just sound, it was a virus rewritten as a symphony. It is a terrifying concept, really, the idea that our tools, the very things we rely on for safety, could be charmed into betraying us by a song. Cale made the command decision that defined his career. He released Naira. The containment field collapsed, plunging them into darkness, but Naira's bioelectric glow guided them. As they moved through the corridors, a miracle occurred. Naira didn't just disrupt the technology, she evolved it. By interfacing directly, she stripped away safety protocols, forcing the outpost systems to operate at terrifying, unguarded efficiency. The lift didn't just move, it glided. The lights didn't just shine, they blazed. It was as if the station had been given performance-enhancing drugs. In the command center, chaos reigned. The Devourer fleet was minutes away, their song overwhelming the crew. Naira realized that mere optimization wasn't enough. The nebula needed a bridge. It required a synthesis of human adaptability and alien bioenergy. She needed to interface with the main core, but the feedback would be lethal unless she had a ground. She looked at Cale. The death threat she had issued earlier wasn't about malice, it was about physics. Kale possessed a neural pattern quantum entangled with the nebula, a rarity born of exposure. Touching her wouldn't kill him in the traditional sense, it would fuse them. It was a choice between annihilation by space vampires or a permanent, intimate connection with an alien stranger. Kale, with the resigned humor of a man out of options, chose connection. "How bad could it be?" he murmured and reached out. Skin met skin. The world dissolved into white fire. It wasn't pain, it was a flood. Kale felt Naira's memories wash over him, the desperation of her people, the ancient duty of the nebula. Simultaneously, she drank in his life, his cynicism, his command history, his secret hope. The quantum entanglement stabilized, not into a singular mind, but a profound, shared empathy. The outpost roared in response. The systems, now guided by their unified consciousness, sang back, a discordant, powerful counter-harmony that shattered the Devourer's seduction. The enemy fleet, unable to process the unified resistance, fled in confusion. Above them, the Crimson Nebula awoke, unfurling a protective barrier across the sector. Months later, standing on the observation deck of a new joint research station, Kale watched the stars. The silence in his head was gone, replaced by a warm, constant presence. He asked Naira if she regretted the contact. Her answer echoed not just in his ears, but in his mind. The only regret was the wait. In a galaxy often defined by the distances between us, they had found that some barriers are meant to be broken, and some risks, no matter how fatal they seem, are worth the touch.